Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff with co-host Chip. What is going on, everybody? What's going on, Chip? Tell you what's going on. XRP is under attack. I don't know what happened. Like as soon as we started, Bitcoin power play and political chaos. That's it. Political chaos. Bitcoin power play. XRP still under attack. What's going on with all this stuff going on here? Bill is trying to be passed through Congress. Not being passed, stable coins, Bitcoin legislation around the country, different states, different approaches, different concepts. But one thing is clear, at least we're seeing some legislation being pumped out. We're going to workshop it. We're going to dig in. We're going to talk about it. We're going to think through it very clearly and throw in some Q&A if you guys have any questions or commentary, as you always do. If you're ready to kick this thing off.
Let me think about it. Okay, I'm ready. I was thinking about it, but I'm ready. You ready to go? I think we need a hard hitter this time. We need some hard guitar. We need hey. Smash the like on your way in, says Chad Nauseum. Of course. Right. Here we go, guys. Let's do some heys. Adding some badass Yeti coffee. That's what you want to start the day. That's how you want to start the day, with some badass Yeti coffee, and you guys can get some. It is roast to order, by the way, guys. That's like nobody. There's really not. I don't think anybody does roast to order. Everyone's like, hey, we'll roast it. We'll sit on a shelf for 6 to 12 months,
and then you can.
And maybe you'll think it's fresh. I mean, that's usually how
nice and stale. Yeah, buy that stale coffee.
Stale ass coffee. That's what most people drink is stale coffee. Stale ass coffee. Yeah, and it's funny if you. And even if it's sealed, the beans are dry. It's like you could break a tooth on one of the beans, you know? It's like, and then the ground stuff too. If they grind it, then it loses even more flavor over time. Not that we're coffee snobs or anything, but we pretty much are. That's kind of who we are. But we'll drop it there, Jeff. We got to give do we have a 20% off there?
We do have.
Yeah, we're gonna. We used to have it up here.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
We stick that in there.
You have a badass Yeti. You can get a discount code. Plug it in there on the shopping spree.
Yeah, if you are in the Badass Yeti, if you are in the Discord, you ought to get a discount on this. But maybe we can give away a discount here during the show. But the thing is, it's a little on the pricey side. But you got to remember, this is roast to order. This is, we roast it and then we basically ship it to you. So that's how it works. Order comes in, gets roasted, shipped. You're basically eating beans within 4 to 5 days of roast. And if you've never had that, I don't know if Mike's in the chat, Mike Marath, but Mike knows. He's the guy that he knows quite a bit about it. Why is it good? Ever tried just roasted beans? Badass Yeti coffee. We roast your beans, order, ship the next day. How's that for badass? Hell yeah. Badass. Yeah, that is some badassery coffee right there, man. The Obsidian Bold is what I'm drinking today. I love the Obsidian Bold. It's a nice kind of a dark roast. And then the other one that's really good too is an Noir Symphony. I said sympathy.
Noir Sympathy. Got some sympathy for you if you're not drinking Obsidian Bold.
That's right. There's some sympathy. Yeti always have sympathy on you, but there it is. That's all we got right there. So
that's right. And by the way, we are going to be rolling out Badassery. So stay tuned for Badassery. Other things to come.
We're changing the brand name to Badassery. We'll have a Badassery website. Coffee brand will change the Badassery because obviously we got more than the Badass Yetis as we're rolling out the Badass Chimps shortly. So
that's right.
Really exciting stuff going on. Exciting, Jeff. Love to see the excitement. The stablecoin bill failed. And it's so funny because and it's bizarre to me. And Richie Torres is officially off the officials. They must have gotten to him. They must have taken him beyond the woodshed because you think about it, Richie Torres was one of the first Democrats back in 2017 to co-sponsor the bill on token taxonomy. I mean, think about that, Jeff. And now he just wrote a bill. And it's kind of weird because he wrote a bill that members of Congress or people in the from the president on down cannot profit from meme coins or stable coins. And I was thinking, how do you profit from a stable coin?
Right.
It's like if it goes up to $1.003 and then you sell billions of shares and you make some, I mean, how does that work exactly? It's pegged
The
to
whole
the
thing
dollar.
is it's really bizarre how they're rolling it out right now. Um, they're looking at they are really trying to apply the fact that they think that Trump is trying to profiteer, from the digital assets, and so the whole thing is really focused in and around Trump derangement syndrome. And so for some reason, Richie Torres, as outspoken as he's been on digital asset, he's has always had some form of Trump derangement syndrome. It's just really bizarre. As intelligent as he is, and as clear, level-headed as he's been on certain topics, this one just doesn't get the pass. And we've just seen this way too many times, but he's utilizing it right now, obviously, you know, uh, to target specifically going after Trump, even though they're talking about, the whole idea blocking current president and future presidents and members of Congress from profiteering on meme coins and stable coins. So if it was just that, if the whole concept was just let's block political elected political officials from profiteering on meme coins. And it's weird that you're right. Weird on the stable coin. Why that? But the name of the bill is what is kind of crazy. Stop Presidential Profiteering from Digital Assets Act. Which makes it illegal or unlawful for someone to create, issue, or promote a digital asset that uses the name, likeness, image, or other recognizable trait of a covered individual. And so, what do you think, Chip? Is this, without even having to dig into what they said, where would you stand on this? Is it wrong for an elected official to roll out, let's say, a meme coin, if it's rolling out as a collectible, or maybe an NFT using their likeness, again as a collectible, or and that's the whole point with the meme coin.
Well, Jeff, I mean, part of this thing is yeah, you read it, presidential profiteering, but it goes down to the family level. And Trump's not running the organization; he's given up all control of that. The sons run it, and the sons are also running all the crypto stuff. But I mean, you're like, and family. Okay, well, let's apply that same logic. Now I'll do the stocks. Okay, why don't we do stocks in
Hmm.
Congress? You can't own any stocks. You
Hmm.
can't own any, because they always defer to, well, it's in my 401k and I have a handler and I don't really know what's in there. That's how they do it, right? They basically
Hmm.
move 401k and they're like, I'm not personally, but I don't know what's in there. But then all of a sudden on disclosures, well, geez, I mean, you had to disclose it so we know what it is. You have to keep everything in check. But it's so funny because there was a bill recently that failed. You have Nancy Pelosi. This is what I love. Pelosi, the biggest, fraud in Congress, who is taken advantage of. She's worth like 200 million now, right? And you got that Pelosi tracker Twitter account that was taken down, but then you got this whole app around congressional people in Congress that are buying and selling stocks. People that do Nancy Pelosi trades make a lot of money because they just follow the trades. They sell when she sells, they buy when she buys, and this
Hmm.
is how they make a lot of money. So to me, you're worried about profits. Do you think Trump cares about that? He's worth billions of dollars. How much is he making on the meme coins? Even if it's a couple million, I mean, it's pittance.
Hmm.
And pathetic if they're using that. Was it the best of calls? Probably not. But so what? I mean, they should make it the old-fashioned way by selling access to their office. Of course, it's a good point, Chad. The old-fashioned way, influence, right? That's what that's there's a whole industry built on influence and getting paid to influence
Hmm.
in Washington.
Right. And there's Mark West. The Democrats are doing it, then it would be okay in their eyes. It's just that Trump is into crypto. And that's a real big part of it. Trump did it first. Trump's into crypto, and he's not profiteering directly. There's other LLCs that, like you'd mentioned, within the Trump organization that he's not running, and there's others popping up like the Fight LLC. There's different components of it that rolled out with meme coins and embracing crypto. The other thing is that Trump throws out the hand grenade into the space because this is the topic at hand, right? We got to get clear legislation put together on crypto asset, and Richie Torres used to be on the side of that, now coming this way. It's an interesting dynamic because he's kind of on both sides of it now. He's like,
But you
do we
also had
want it? Do we not want it? And what's the path?
there were some Republicans that voted against it too, because one of the concerns was that big tech could also start launching their meme coins. They didn't want it to turn into like just a free for all, so they wanted some protection underneath that as well.
Right.
Do you agree with this statement? Jim D says Maxine Waters needs to be put in a straitjacket. Lunatic is blowing up the pro crypto bills to hate on Trump. Well, I mean, when she was in charge of the committee, everything got curtailed, right? She called it Bitcoin. She couldn't even know what Bitcoin is. And you get to a point too where it's just like oppose, and even some of the leaders or former leaders of the Democrat Party are like, this isn't really the hill we want to die on. Do we really want to be seen as going down to El Salvador, bailing out people when we got people struggling here in the U.S. still? I mean, it's just not a good look. You finally had some people. Hakeem Jeffries was like, I think we kind of want to lay a little bit low on this subject here. I don't think this is what we want to do. There's some Democrat strategists. They're saying like, no, this is, calling out one section of, hating on one part of this and that. It's not a good look. It's not going to make people like you more. It's very divisive conversation. So you start seeing a lot of people that are influencing or have influenced the Democrat Party going like, no, let's just kind of like, let's pick something. And crypto is another reason. They didn't learn anything from the previous election. There was so much PAC money that was raised because of crypto. And so many people that, I mean, look at the stats. 2 out of 5 people in the US own crypto. It's a pretty influential voting bloc. A lot of people voted, maybe Republican, maybe even like Trump, but they were pro crypto. They didn't want to have 4 more years of destroying crypto and this war on crypto across the board. And so maybe they voted. So and they're still not learning a thing. I saw this today. So Laura Shid, who has a podcast and who is she's an admitted ETH maxi. She put out Tether in the clear, yes, under this new Republican-led Senate stablecoin bill. However, this version uncovered here for the first time could hurt DeFi facilitators. She then commented on that scoop. The latest version of the Senate stablecoin would bring Tether under U.S. Jurisdiction. And I don't know that John Deaton put the eyes on that and said, whoa, what? Now, so when I read this, I go, wait a minute, come on. Why would they all of a sudden include Tether? And then Barry said, no, sorry, that's all fun. I'm going to have to go look in the bill itself. And again, they say they got their hands on a revised copy. I don't think even the press has a revised copy, right? I mean, did they even mark it up yet? I mean, do they even know what they're objecting to, like the latest version? And why would Republicans give Tether a free pass when they were so vehemently? And unless, of course, the Democrats wanted it, but it just seems far-fetched to me. I think Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is probably turning out to be one of the best hires. This guy is just fantastic in interviews. He's cool, calm, collective, knows what he's talking about. Here he says, for stable coins and other digital assets to thrive globally, the world needs American leadership. Senate missed an opportunity to provide that leadership today by failing to advance the Genius Act. The bill represents a once-in-a-generational opportunity to expand dollar dominance and U.S. influence in financial innovation. Without it, stablecoins will be subject to a patchwork of state regulations instead of a streamlined federal framework that has a more, is more conducive to growth and competitiveness. And the world is watching while American lawmakers twiddle their thumbs. Senators who voted to stonewall U.S. ingenuity today face a simple choice: either step up and lead or watch digital asset innovation move offshore. But there's actually a third choice: or get primary. And who has the money and who will raise the money? A guy named Elon Musk said, if you go against the people's agenda, Trump clearly laid out the agenda. We have videos going back 40 years where he's talking about tariffs. He's been talking about tariffs for 40 years. And people are like, tariffs? Who knew? And what's funny about that, Jeff, is that in his first term, he had pretty sizable tariffs against China that raised hundreds of billion. I think it raised close to $1 billion+, whatever it was. And he distributed a lot of that to the farmers. Yet, and you remember what the critics said, better known as the left and the fake media? iPhones are going to cost $3,000. all of your phones, your Android phones are going to go up. Your Android phones, you're going to be paying $3,000 for an Android phone, for an iPhone. Well, none of that happened, right? Because here's the dirty secret. They're not going to change their pricing. This new deal with the UK, you think they're going to raise prices 10% and lose more business? No, they're going to eat it. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to change the prices. Got into a little spat on X with somebody over there, formerly of the UK, but you just can't. Why would they want to change it, Jeff, to the point of where they're going to eat it? It's
That's
just
right.
it's a silly thing.
Yep. So, and it's interesting. I had pulled up kind of a couple videos in and around what you're talking about, but I think everyone has probably seen this one. It's probably one of the more important videos really to go back and watch, mainly because when you have somebody that's currently in office that has had the same commentary like you'd mentioned for the past 40 years, right? And it's amazing and impressive when you go back to 1980 and to hear what Trump had said back then, relevant today, relevant in crypto, relevant in global financial markets. Where's the shift? So when we think, hey, is this something that just started happening 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 16 years ago, this is something that has progressively deepened its roots, and now we have to finally just cut the weeds out at the roots. But let's just play this real quick.
Most people understand that in order to make progress, you have to do things which aren't necessarily going to make you the most popular boy on the block. And that's what we did. In that case, we had a decision to make, and we had to make a decision.
Is that something you learned all by yourself, or was it instilled in you by your father or your grandparents or anyone?
I think maybe it's something that was instilled, and maybe it's something that you've learned through a little bit of trial and error over the years. I think this country maybe is a good example. I just don't feel the country is going forward in the proper direction. We could have made quick decisions, and we would have been a lot better off than the way we've been sitting around over the last couple of years and just watching everybody else do everything, and we just sit back and take everybody's abuse. It's a very sad situation that somebody isn't there making the decisions and pushing the right and proper, I don't want to use the word buttons, frankly, but pushing the right levers so that we can go out and do things as we're supposed to be doing them.
You are a mover, you are a doer. If you could make America perfect, how would you do it? I love that
statement.
Well, I think that America is a country that has tremendous, tremendous potential. I think that much like the mind, I think that America is using very, very little of its potential. I feel that this country with the proper leadership can go on to become what it once was. And I hope, and certainly hope, that it does go on to be what it should be.
What should it be?
Well, it should really be a country that gets the respect of other countries.
Is respect the most important thing in your opinion?
Well, respect can lead to other things. When you get the respect of the other countries, then the other countries tend to do a little bit as you do, and you can create the right attitudes. The Iranian situation is a case in point. That they hold our hostages is just
so interesting.
Absolutely and totally ridiculous. That this country sits back and allows a country such as Iran to hold our hostages, to my way of thinking, is a horror. And I don't think they'd do it with other countries. I honestly don't think they'd do it with other countries.
This is so relevant, Chip. You think about where he was, and this is the hypocrisy and the Trump derangement syndrome, where Trump hasn't changed. On smaller topics, he's changed. And some large topics he's changed and grown over time, and obviously there's been new revelations of things, but the basis of what he's saying then and what he says now is the same, right? And that's what's so key. And here he was. What is it going to take for the U.S. to succeed? Where did he want us to? He wants the U.S. back in that golden age. When he talks about our golden era, and there was a golden era here where it was production and building the tallest buildings and doing things that nobody else could achieve, building the railroad from coast to coast, north to south, east to west, going out to the West, and and people seeking fortunes and risking everything and building the skyline of New York City, putting up the Empire State Building, doing things that were beyond expectation. We got to a point, kind of this lull of the 70s, where things started. It just took kind of a turn, to almost like a laziness attitude. We went into the 80s, strong with Reagan again, pushing the limits. But that era of Carter, which is what he's also referencing, was such a down period where we had a lack of respect globally. And it's so interesting to mention the Iranian situation then and the hostage taking, because it was a complete lack of respect, and the responsiveness to it was so mediocre to poor, to where we're just getting beat up on a global stage. And and then 80s we became really strong under Reagan, and then we started weakening again for many, many, many years, right? I mean, it's amazing how weak we became post Reagan, through the Clinton era, but there was prosperity. The 80s was almost like a fake prosperous time period. Then you went through the 90s under Clinton, but the only reason why we're able to stabilize, it was because of Clinton and Newt Gingrich working together, and you had Congress, the different branches working together to make sure that we at least had some positivity. But even with that, as the economic was raging on and growing, there were things happening behind the scenes to undermine it. And this is where people became willfully ignorant. And I had said it way back then. I would have conversations with people to say they've now basically blinded us by giving us wealth, allowing people to make money. And we went through this period, but the government started stepping in, deciding winners from losers throughout the 90s into the early 2000s. We had different representations of that. They would give and they would take away. And at the same time, we're becoming willfully ignorant of what was transpiring around the globe. And we did it in the 70s, we did it in the 90s, which led up to 9/11, and post 9/11 we became willfully blind. And it's so amazing that we allowed the think about what China represented and exactly what he's talking about, the lack of respect. We pushed all of our production over to China, everything, every product, everything. And they lied to the people in this country and said, you want cheap products, you need to have it made cheaply. But we don't want cheap, meaning we want it to fall apart and have crappy products, right? They meant we want to bring the price point down. But then the lie, even if you look at what's the show with Mr. Wonderful, even that show, every time someone came in front of them with an entrepreneurial idea and a product, they're like, whoa, you can go make it over in China for pennies on the dollar. So you start pushing everything over to China. You move all manufacturing, all production, everything goes to China. China, on the other hand, takes advantage of it and steals all of our intellectual property rights, starts pumping out their own product even cheaper, because they basically have forced slave labor. All of the big companies were responsible for participating in this slave labor over in China, because they're paying them pennies on the dollar to manufacture. And that was the whole point, is that the cost of material good didn't change. The biggest change was cost of labor. So as soon as they move it to China, they're using everything, every part of it had cheaper labor to produce it. So therefore, all of a sudden you have a cheaper good. So that means that, the big companies, every company, I mean, everyone is guilty of it, right? Apple, Nike, like all the big brands were guilty of utilizing Chinese slave labor. And this is the problem, right? Is that, and then the consumers, we became a consumer society. That's all we cared about. It's like, I want to buy my shoes cheaper. I want to buy my this cheaper. I want everything cheap. And now all of a sudden, then you went from, okay, we want it less costly to, then you go into the store and everything is crap, right? You go into, now you're shopping in Target, you go into the mall, you go in wherever you go, everything you buy is made shoddily and crappily. And now that was the lie they sold to us. You get into your vehicle. Why do we go through a period like in the 80s where US automotive was garbage, right? The 80s was like a horrible time frame for American automotive, and they're trying to push ingenuity, but the cars were garbage, right? They would fall apart. You know, we went from 60s, even going into the 70s, where like the heavy steel, like amazing, you know, engines and heavy cars and everything. And then you go into the 80s and they start getting a little wishy-washy, right? And then there was this long period of time where US automotive just lost kind of the momentum a little bit, because and then they start now, if you look at some of the product, go into your car and find the cheap components, guaranteed those are the ones pressed over in China. You know, it's such a dynamic, and this is the lack of respect, but it was the lack of respect of the politicians for the people of this country, and even just having pride in the direction that we're going in, and the globalists and everything that Miguel is saying. We are to blame. Wanted cheaper goods, and we elected politicians who wanted to support that, and we continue that cycle. Trump steps in. He said sometimes you have to have pain to get to the next step, and you need pain to have gain. It's like going to the gym. If you don't have some pain, you're not going to make the gains. And it's like that with everything, right? And so now we have to think about it. Hey, if we want really amazing, got to take a step back and look at where we're at, Chip. You know, I mean, it's just across the board. It's amazing. And this video from 1980 is so representative.
Amazing. I mean, you have this Northeast Whitewater says New Britain, Connecticut. Stanley Tools was once a generational employer, gone in the snap of a NAFTA finger. It was a great town. Now it's a mini Detroit. And this is what happened. You just closed down all these towns, these jobs. So, I mean, and people making fun of Trump because he wants to bring back, it'll never work. Who wants a factory job? Who wants to work in a factory? Well, who are you elitists that are sitting there pontificate with your ridiculous, you know, commentary that's never worked an honest day in your life? Right. I mean, it's just absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, and there's Mark West. The only people that got cheaper goods were the manufacturer. That's exactly right. And that's why Mr. Wonderful and all those guys up in that show said push the cost of production to China, not because it lowers the price point. They're like, oh, I sell for 20. Well, how much do you pay? I pay 15. Oh, so you're only making whatever your gross, you know, your margin and percentage, blah, whatever, you know, so you make $5 profit. But what if you made it in China? You could probably make it for $2 and you could probably have an $18 profit. Well, that's the mindset, right? Sold it for 20, paid 2, paid $1, paid 50 cents, whatever it is. And you get the cheap product. China steals the intellectual property right on the product, pushes them out the back door. I can remember my uncle told me years and years ago, he ran a pretty big company, global company in the US. And so he told me that when they first started exploring production over in China, he went there to open some factories for some of the componentry. And he went over there and he toured the factories. And this is a number of years ago. And he said it was mind-boggling. He said because they took a tour of like a running shoe factory from a big name company. And he said that they went in the front door and you saw all the production, the logos going on, the shoes being made, like the whole factory and the labor and everything. And he saw how they would box them up and put them on the trucks and ship them out to be shipped all over the world. Then they got to the other side of the factory, same production lines, same products, no logo, going out the back door of the factory for pennies on the dollar. And those are the ones that went to other parts of the world and were sold same product, same technology. Maybe they obviously left the logo off and a few other things, and it went out the other side. And he said that was like an eye opener. He said that was the theft of the intellectual property right, because now you had the real product going this way, the fake product going that way, and there you go. You know, and then all of a sudden, then the reverse engineering that took place. I mean, it was amazing, some of the things that over the years, and the people were, again, willfully ignorant of what was going on because they didn't want to believe that that was happening.
And the opposite of that, Jeff, I mean, one rough Rican here, who's a big time supporter of the show. Can't thank you enough. Rican always coming in here. I mean, this is an act of kindness right here. Gifted 5 on the chain live memberships. That's fantastic.
Wow. That's huge.
Well, amazing. Thank you for that. And thank you to the folks that, you know, that also were saying thank you for getting that. It's fantastic. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Right there. Charles Vidal Jr. right there. Thank you, sir. Beautiful. So
Thank
that's
you very
all.
much for that.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Yeah,
Chad did correct me on that one. The 70s were the worst for that. That was the beginning of the downfall, right?
it was actually pretty cool. It was a cheaper
The
version.
Pinto.
The Pinto was a joke. Is that the was it the the Pacer was a god. Oh my god. That's like he's like, that's what the kind of drugs came out of the 60s. You started making these kind of cars. But the Pacer was like I always thought it would look like a one of those aquariums. Like you were on display forever. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's not it's a lot, man. We appreciate that. So appreciate that, Regan. But the cars were they were pathetic. They were worse than worse. I mean, they were just absolutely bad. Garlinghouse said stablecoins are exploding globally for the real-world applications. The sheer amount of recent announcements across crypto, fintech, and traditional finance should indicate as such. Sooner the U.S. can pass workable, clear rules, the faster it reaps the benefits. It's going to pass. It's just they're going to go back. They're going to put, people are grandstanding. They want some changes in there. And look, this is just how things move through Congress. But honestly, what do we care? I mean, yeah, I understand. The reason they're propping this up is what Garlinghouse is talking about, because the stable coin is pegged to the dollar, because the dollar is a reserve currency. It just advances that notion a little bit further. And when we think about crypto, we're still waiting for the crypto bill. If we can't get a stable coin passed, man, what's it going to look like for the standard crypto bill? I mean, it seems to me like it's going to be bizarro world. And you had Monica Long, Wayne's World, excellent. So you had Monica Long. She's is she the president? Is that what she is? What is she, the president? What is she, the president of Ripple? She said it was great to join the Bridge, which is an entirely payments platform, along with Ramp, which is a phenomenal all-in-one financial operations that you really for business. Then also there with Airtimic, which is access to 500 ways to convert, withdraw your funds. So all kind of like everything around payments. And then, of course, they're on stage at Stripe. She said a few lessons we've learned over the years, which is number one, blockchain payments need connectivity to local rails, and connectivity depends on bank partners having regulatory comfort and clarity. We're in a starkly better place now than we were 2 years ago. And number two, it's appealing, but very challenging. Got a couple R's in there. Very challenging in the software only provider, hence why we have 60 licenses and counting. And number three, stablecoins need liquidity across global currencies to compete with traditional FX markets. The next industry challenge. So she's pointing out some couple things. Yeah, FX is another really good, but also moving items along too. And then I saw this FUD here. This has been going around. I just happened to catch this post because I commented on other posts out there, but Trump was furious after an XRP lobbyist lied to him. Now he's gone full Bitcoin maxi for the reserve, and Ripple has to pay a $50 million fine. Love to see it. So the meme is, here's an airplane that's on the ground, and that's called crypto markets. Then the airplane's taken off. That's the bull run begins. And then you got the people left on the tarmac, and those are the XRP holders that missed the bull run. They missed the bull run altogether.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
This was
it's so funny.
Digital Assets US said in March 2025, a lobbyist from Ballard Partners, a firm representing Ripple Labs, reportedly misled U.S. President Donald Trump into posting Truth Social, including XRP, Solana, and Cardano. Now, did they comment on the fact that Garlinghouse had made trips to the White House in Trump's first term? Did they comment on the fact that Trump had met with not only Garlinghouse, but Stu Alderati, Chief General Counsel and CEO? Did they comment on that? Did they comment on the fact that Brad Garlinghouse was one of the invitees to the March event that was the crypto conference? No, they didn't comment, but they just made up a story. So, Jeff, I put my trusty sleuth hat on and said, I wonder where this story came from. Well, none other than Politico. Now, Politico is a far left rag, which is known for its BS. And so they position this as a story. It's basically the New York Times, same garbage. From Trump whisperer to West Wing pariah, how lobbyist Brian Ballard angered Trump. Oh no. After a March incident at Mar-a-Lago involving cryptocurrency and a True Social post, the White House turns on a well-known political fixer. And the story goes on to basically say that because this guy met with Trump, and then he didn't disclose that Ripple was a client of theirs. Trump got so violently mad and he doesn't want anything to do with XRP anymore. Ballard's been a persona non grata in the West Wing ever since Trump's return to Washington. He's been established. I mean, this reads like horrible, disgusting fictional story. Meanwhile,
right,
there's no other trace of this. This is some made up BS garbage. And then somewhere along the side, people close to the matter or anonymous sources once again. I mean,
all anonymous, always anonymous.
And it's so stupid. Now, it's not even a believable story. So this guy, a lobbyist who there's hundreds, thousands, I mean, there's a whole industry about lobbyists, right? I was mentioning that before. There's the whole industry. They get paid to just go and have conversations and influence. Well, your campaign's coming up and we can help you raise some money for your campaign and blah, blah, blah. They infer it. They don't come out and basically, but it's all this garbage influence. But supposedly he talked about XRP and Trump's like, yeah, I will put that. And then he got not the Bitcoin reserve. What do they call it? The stable, what do they call it? What's the other thing called?
The strategic reserve.
The strategic reserve. And then he got furiously mad when he found out that Ballard was also representing Ripple. He felt like he was had. If you're going to put a BS story out there, at least let it be believable. This is garbage. Trump was violently mad and Ballard's not welcome anywhere near that. He's no longer invited back to Mar-a-Lago or the White House. Jeff, I mean, this is it. But it's put out by a Bitcoin maxi, and it's understandable, but it's just ridiculously pathetic, man. Texas House, Jeff, this is exciting news. Texas House
passes some legislation.
So this is pretty interesting. Passed by this. Now it's made progress in the House, advancing out of committee. So what happens is either the Senate or the House can pass it first, but it's got to go. It starts in the House, it'll go to the Senate. Starts in the Senate. This way it goes to the House. It did come out of committee, so now it's going to go for a floor vote, which means that the Texas House of Representatives will now vote for this. And if it passes, otherwise they'll mark it up and send it back to the Senate, and everything starts all over again, and eventually go to the governor for signature, and the governor can veto it. But since the governor's on board and pro crypto, it looks like this is this the nation's first reserve?
I think it might. That's properly passed like that. There's a number of that legislation out there, and this might be the very first that actually gets through and shows the significance of digital asset and the strategic reserve. And look at that, June 2nd. So we're like a month out, man. Bill 21, SB 21. Interesting. Like the 21
weeks. Senator, the bill aims to establish the Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, allowing state's comptroller to invest in crypto assets with market capitalization of at least $500 billion over the past 12 months. They passed it on a 9-4 vote with no amendments. It was also along party lines. It'll proceed to the House floor. Notably, the bill swept the Texas Senate in a 25-5 vote 2 months ago.
Right. Yep.
That's so amazing that it's there. So here's the race right here. So New Hampshire. That's right. We did that story a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
They went ahead and enacted it. Now that's the most bizarre one. You wouldn't have thought a very left blue state would have passed that legislation, but they know what's up.
I forget exactly. We reviewed it, but I don't remember. Let's see, Bitcoin.
I don't know if we talked about it once it passed, but then you had Arizona, which is also in the chamber too. You've got, obviously we just talked about Texas. North Carolina is still in the committee.
Very similar.
Hasn't come out of committee, so it's very, very similar. Then we've got Alabama here, which is kind of still lower in the rails. But look, I mean, the bottom line is you got New Hampshire, Arizona, and Texas are next two to pop. North Carolina is advancing nicely. Alabama is still in the sort of it's in the House right there, but it's once it passes in the House, it'll go through. But man, you'll have at least 3 to 5 states which will be in a very good position here, which is going to be great because look, and then, you know what this leads to? This leads to, strategic, another type of, like similar to what the White House did, a Bitcoin reserve. Then you'll have a basket of altcoins in there, but opening the floodgates will start with Bitcoin and then it'll sort of progress lines. But I mean, this is exciting news. So you've got these states like New Hampshire, right? Who New Hampshire went clearly for Harris in the last election. And we saw the Democrats be very, very anti-crypto. But here you got New Hampshire. They passed this they've already enacted their strategic Bitcoin reserve. You got Arizona next to pop. Arizona kind of split a little.
Texas is close.
Texas is closed. You got Texas, a red state, North Carolina, a red state, Alabama, red state. So you got a nice little mix in there where you have Arizona kind of split and New Hampshire being blue. So it's bipartisan. You can see this. And then I just think there's a little bit of grandstanding going on with this bill. I don't have any doubts that it's going to pass. They may down a bit, but I do think it's going to pass. There is bipartisan support. It's just that doesn't look the way we think it should look. And look at this right here, Jeff.
So it really is amazing. Oh, look at that.
I mean,
nice.
A big 20 sponsor right there. Peace, love to the world by the way of XRP. Peace and love. Peace and love. Love to the world by way of XRP. Really appreciate that. Great sentiment. Peace and love. Peace and love. That's Ringo Starr. Peace and love. Peace and love. Every time he opens his mouth, it's peace and love. It's somewhere in there. Peace and love. Peace and love. By the way, he's one of the last two remaining Beatles. He's 84 years old. Guy looks amazing, man. Guy, I don't know what's going on, but all kinds of trouble and health issues when he was growing up too. And it's amazing to see it. Thank you very much, Plumbing guys. Thank you.
So Chip, on this legislation, it's interesting because the New Hampshire bill allows the investment of the 5% of public funds in a digital asset that has at least 500 billion in market cap, meaning right now that leaves Bitcoin as the only qualifying asset.
Right.
So as long as they reach that target, they can then purchase. So right now it's just Bitcoin. It's interesting because the state rep Keith Amon, whatever, the lawmaker behind the bill, told CoinDesk that the new law embraces financial innovation and helps diversify the state's investment to mitigate inflation caused by the federal government's unending money printing. He also credited the Satoshi Action Fund with helping cement the state as a trailblazer in digital asset. And what's interesting about it is that as that's happening, the state House Republicans in New Hampshire also posted on X Tuesday, boasting that their state is officially the first state to lay the groundwork for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Arizona is there as well. Arizona's been the first state to get a similar measure to its governor's desk, but the legislation was vetoed, as we remember, though other bills are still awaiting the governor's consideration. Florida, which we thought would probably be amongst the first, withdrew its own efforts, joining a number of other states where the reserve push has basically fizzled. And it's interesting to see that, that it happened here in Florida, but there was, some reasoning behind it, and we can get into that after. But we're getting really close to seeing some real, positive things, popping around the country. It's going to take, legislation throughout the whole U.S., every state and federal government to get some normalization here. Once we see that happening, I think we're going to start seeing some big changes infrastructurally with crypto asset. But Chip, before we get into the next one, I do want to quickly just play this quick segment here. So get ready. Get ready.
Winner baddest yeti from the blue trap. Word of the day, you die. You got your Zaman wallet ready.
Why? Cause this is gonna be a big time to claim your legendary blue tribe yeti
of the clan Templar. His name Red High. Let's go on the chain. Badass yetis,
born for battle, made for legend. Claim yours or be forgotten. Badass yetis on the chain.
Boom. Boom. How do you like that? Here it on the chain, you get a custom graphic. We don't play the same one over and over again. Hell no, man. We play something new and exciting. We don't mess with that.
It's got to be exciting and
I don't love that. The states need to pass pro-gold legislation and not fall for coin BS fake store value used to keep the gold price suppressed for a bit longer. Gold's been going pretty well. It's been doing pretty well on its own, but I mean, quite honestly, gold should be around $28,000, $30,000, $36,000 where gold should be. That's what I would think, somewhere in that. It's been suppressed for a long time, but you now start seeing it rise a little bit. So, Jeff, this week you haven't heard much from ex-President Biden, but the View thought it was going to be a good idea to
hear from him.
The View thought it was a good idea to bring him on and chat with him. And you know what, Jeff? He's still sharp as a tack. Watch this.
The projects, the benefits. How do you lead the world without having the best infrastructure in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best healthcare in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best education system in the world? How do you lead the world when you don't have that done?
He's sharp. He's still, I don't know what he says here. How does the
world without having the best healthcare in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best infrastructure in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best healthcare in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best education system in the world? How do you lead the world when you don't have that done?
I don't know. How did you lead? You didn't get it done. You think? Does he think he got that done? Is that what he's surmising there? I mean, Jeff, he's like, how do you do the infrastructure and how do you do the? I mean, what's he talking about? I have no clue what he's even saying.
God,
they thought it was an extremely good idea, but then he said this. He repeated it that you hear often on the left because we've been hearing this since the 90s. First of all, Republicans want to push Granny off a cliff. They want to take away her Social Security. They want to take away her, for her health care. They've been saying this shit for 40 years. And this is sharp as a bowling ball, as a spoon, as a compass. Okay, so here we go. This is here's Biden. He was talking about, again, parroting another lie, but the girls in the View dig it and they eat it up.
I don't understand, why is he going after people's health care and Social Security?
He doesn't understand why. Well, I'll tell you why you don't understand, because it didn't happen, and that's the whole point, Joe.
Why is he doing that? What possible reason is that?
Jeff, what possible reason? This is the best when the fake angry stuff is what I used to love when he would talk a speech. And he whispered like this. We need to get it whispering. We need to get it done. And we start whispering. He's a weirdo, man.
Why is he doing that? We did. What possible reason is that? How is he saving money? People paid to get into these programs.
How is he saving money?
I mean, I just find
just to be mean, just to be cruel.
Well, all kidding aside, I don't quite get the. Anyway, I can be short.
Anyway, I lost what I was going to say. He
I know.
40 times.
He knows how to cut it off, though.
Anyway,
I can be short. No.
He definitely learned how to cut things off when he loses it. Because before he'd be like, that thing. Now he's just like, nah, I'll just. Towards the end, he would be like, nah.
You look embarrassed when he does his face.
Yep.
Holy
shit. Let's not do that.
Anyway,
that's a bad idea.
I can be short.
I can be short.
No. You're criticizing Trump. You can go on.
Of course. Yeah.
Go on.
They're so ridiculous. They're so absurd.
I mean, they thought this would be a really phenomenal appearance for him. I don't know what they're even thinking. Like, why did they think this was a good thing? I mean, there's another clip. I don't know if I have that one here. Let me see. Do I have that?
Biggest collection of witches outside of a Shakespeare play.
Yeah, here you go. Well, there's another clip where they ask him about the cognitive decline, and he goes on to talk. He basically goes on to demonstrate the cognitive decline. It's too sad to watch. I mean, let's keep it sort of upbeat. I thought that was a little bit no. So let's watch this one. And here's another false premise that he goes on about. First of all, the questioning on here was just absolutely ridiculous to begin with. But here he is.
You remember we put together a commission leading with one of the most conservative members.
He's talking about border. Okay. He's talking about, Jeff, just listen to this pile of heaping, steaming, Listen to this.
We put together a commission leading with one of the most conservative members of the United States Senate from Oklahoma running it. We came up with a significant means by which we could deal with the border. What did Trump do? He got on the telephone and he called Republicans, do not support it. It's legal, it'll work, it'll make Biden look good, don't do it. And they backed off.
Can't someone be impeached for something like that?
Well, secondly,
like what in the world?
Well, Jeff, we know that there was nothing going on at the border, and Trump totally answered Biden right here when he said this.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
Like,
That was so awesome. I love it. Oh my God, that was so great. That was so awesome.
That was like a mic drop moment. Well, the funny thing is he set it up. He set up a trap. We need this legislation. The Republicans blocked it. Dude, all you have to do is unreverse Trump's executive orders. You came in on day one and got rid of. What did Trump do on day one? Reenacted the executive orders. Boom, borders secured, 99.9%. Done.
Yeah, done.
This is what happens when you have people who are just they're cunning, but they think that they think people are stupid. Now the people that are stupid are on the left, because the nut jobs over there that read the BBC and Al Jazeera and all this stuff, they read all kinds of lies all the time, and they're basically leftists. I mean, that's kind of what they do. I saw somebody earlier put up someone had said something about Rand Paul as Rand Paul's a libertarian, and Jeff, I both know what libertarian's another name for Democrats. But they don't want to be the Democrats. We're cooler Democrats. And if you don't know, I mean, they put up that guy Chase, whatever his name, that goofball who was former Democrat. They put him up, and he's about as Democrat leftist as you can get. Come on, these people are absolutely lost their minds. All of a sudden. But
libertarians are the worst. They're the worst.
They're just pretending that there's something else, but they're Democrats.
But they're not. They're worse. They're worse than the Democrat. You can't pretend. Can't pretend like you're something different. When you fit the narrative, you buy their nonsense, you listen, you buy everything the Democrat says, hook, line, and sinker, buy into all of it, and no, we're different. They supposedly support limited government, but then they buy everything that the Democrats sell them. So,
and Jeff, did you see this? The mayor from New Jersey, from Newark here, was blocking basically blocking access to illegals. There he is. They arrested him. He was standing and blocking police from going in there. Here he is on CNN, totally unapologetic.
Obviously he was charged with federal trespassing, and which is a Class C misdemeanor.
They're trying to break into a facility. They were trying to get into a jail. They were doing some weird stuff, and he goes, "I was charged with federal trespassing," but that's okay. I'm sure they just made it up.
Class C misdemeanor, but going through this is just really humiliating and painful. But the reality is, this is what democracy is, right? And so, we are in dispute here, and we're just living in a time period now where if you are opposed to the ideas of people, you could be threatened with arrest or intimidation, and that's exactly what's happening.
Well, he said
here again, Chip. Look at that.
What's up?
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I'd say, he says right there, I was charged with federal trespassing. He was basically blocking the police. The police said they were going to arrest you. They've been saying this for a long time. Any official that blocks is going to, you're interfering with police work. Of course you're going to get charged with federal trespassing.
Yep. So the Democrats take it to another level, which is what they've always done. They do something completely illegal, completely unconstitutional. We saw for the last 4 years, the lawfare, right? Going after Trump. Before that, we saw different agencies going after conservative groups. Now, when things have flipped again, now look what he just said. He said this administration, the risk is that they'll arrest you for nothing. If they don't agree with you, they arrest you. This is a freedom of speech. They'll arrest you. But he was doing something illegal. The Democrat does something illegal. They get arrested for it. They spin the narrative back onto what they would do when they just practice lawfare against the innocent, and they apply that narrative back to the Republicans. This is what they've done for decades. It's fear-mongering, it's deceitful, and this is what they've been doing. It was interesting. I led a meeting on Thursday, we had all these different groups there, and it was so interesting because we had people from Haitian background, from a Latin American background, Jewish background, like all these different groups, were there. And it was so interesting because the narrative was exactly the same. I was a lifelong Democrat until I woke up and realized that I was being lied to, right? Narrative after narrative after narrative, the same thing. They're like, I was lifelong Democrat, lifelong Democrat, lifelong Democrat, family, lifelong Democrat. My eyes were opened. I finally woke up to it. And it's amazing because of decade upon decade upon decade, the Democrat narrative has always been the same, right? They've always gone after and targeted quote unquote minority groups with this objective of recruiting them into the Democrat Party under the notion of fear mongering, right? The Republicans are the racist ones. The Republican ones are the ones that put you in that condition. The Republicans are the ones that want to send you back into that condition. Meanwhile, it was the Democrats that created the condition. It was the Democrats that put them in the condition. And it's the Democrat that continues to further the condition. But yet they're always, it's always a projection. It's always a spin narrative. It's always deceitful. But as soon as they wake up, and it was so like emotionally charged at the meeting that we held the other night when I said this, I said, it's amazing because every one of us has that same experience around us, whether it's family, whether it's how we grew up, whether, whatever it might be. It's just so amazing, to see how they specifically go after and target, these different groups. But it's amazing, like how irrationally, the Democrat, or rationally from their perspective, go after different groups and they target them specifically to try to recruit. And now they're doing the exact same thing, as they try to go after, illegal immigration, right? They're bringing people in here illegally, trying to give them the right to vote, but then trying to make it sound like anyone that's brought in illegally, regardless of what country they're coming from, they're trying to spin this narrative again that they're the ones that are the victims, and it's so, it's so amazing economically, politically, that we have to be so aware and cognizant of it, which is the big differentiator here, because all of these individuals kind of woke up and they all joined the Republican Party. Now, within the Republican Party, obviously there's been, issue within that group as well, because now as you look at the establishment versus the conservative, right? And so minimizing establishment influence, expanding conservative influence, but really expanding constitutional influence, right? If you want to be a constitutional conservative and understanding the principles that this country was built on, that's the fundamental. And this is where it becomes super, super complex. It's amazing to me. Really, really amazing.
It really, it's an interesting time to be alive, quite honestly. I mean, there's so much stuff going on, but of course you were going to have all this, but the best, I guess the best sort of revenge is success, right? Success for the American people. I have people from the UK constantly arguing with me saying, well, Trump is an idiot and Europe's moving to other countries and they want the euro, all this garbage. I'm like, well, listen, it's not over yet. And then I said, well, it sounds like we have a deal with the UK. Oh, that's a framework. Parliament will never adapt it. I'm like, well, based on what I read and the research I did, Parliament can't stop it. They can grandstand it. They might try to get some changes made, but they really can't stop it. And so it's pretty much an ink deal for the most part. So everyone's always up in arms about this and that and the other thing. Here he is right here. Here is Newark Mayor Raz Baraka. Here's his official mugshot. One New Jersey state officer intervened and said that soon-to-be former mayor reportedly said that he definitely learned the meaning of F around and find out. Looking great, Raz. Enjoy your well-deserved time off from corruption. Then we had this one here. Said, don't say it. It's here's Trump saying it to the Democrat Party. Got the big donkey saying don't say it. Represents the Democrat Party. Don't you dare. And Trump's about to say it. No one is above the law. because that was what we heard when Trump got arrested, when Trump was charged. But apparently now everyone's above the law. There is no lawfare. Nobody cares to that all that much. And Jeff, if you really want to see the sort of the meme that sort of basically sums it all up, the difference between the Republican and Democrat Party. On the Republican platform, you have free enterprise, secure borders, honest elections, real journalism, ethical judiciary, civil rights, moral standards, and personal liberty. And on the Democrat platform, you have hate Trump. That's it. That about sums it up. Hate Trump. Just as long as you can hate Trump, that's all that comes down to. That's really what their platform is. There's an incredible amount of corruption going on. Here's some more. Check out this. And tell me if you're surprised at all by any of this here. But listen to some more fraud that's going on, Jeff.
10 to 15% of the way through reviewing all 4,500 of these documents. But already there's some interesting tidbits in there. For example, we found that Attorney General Aaron Fry spent $60,000 on a no-bid contract for soundproofing in his office in the Burton Cross office building. This was, of course, just a few months.
This is the Democrats up in Maine. Okay, so he's talking about Maine and some of the corruption going on out there, and USAID, what it paid for.
Months before it would emerge that he was having an affair with a subordinate. We found an $800,000 contract to the Bangor Daily News for marketing and advertising. The timing of that $800,000 payment to the Bangor Daily News is kind of interesting. October of 2022. That would have been right before the LePage Mills re-election fight. And then we've also found a ton of no-bid contracts given to a who's who of non-governmental organizations. The early story is, and again, we're 10 to 15% of the way through looking at these documents. We will look at every single one of them. But the early story appears to be that the Mills administration has been using taxpayer dollars like the USAID fund. They've been using no-bid contracts to funnel money to non-governmental organizations, and those NGOs are run by individuals who are friendly with their re-election efforts, friendly with what the administration is doing. And this money includes, by the way, federal dollars, COVID dollars, even emergency funding for Lewiston shooting response has been funneled to friendly NGOs.
So there you have it, more corruption. And one of the things that I think the Democrats are most angry about is that Trump and the administration has cut off the funding, cut the NGOs. There's another government agency that's getting funded. All this money was getting funneled back into campaigns through NGOs, long trails of money, and it's all cut off. So this is what they're very mad about. And that's only the beginning. Now, and we're supposed to think that the Federal Reserve is probably all on the up and up, never been audited. No one knows what the inner workings of it since 1913, but I'm sure it's above board. If it's anything like government, it's also going to be a dumpster fire, right?
Yep.
A dumpster fire of corruption. And who knows that, Jeff, if they had like 6 computers that were sending payments and 20% of them did not have anything appropriated by Congress, no money trail, no reason, and sending out this money on a constant basis. The USAID funding people formally in the officials of the Democrat Party passed, constant money flowing to, I think $100,000 a month was going to Michelle Obama. Why? And how is this not fraud? Like, it's all fraud. If you had money in your payments, my God, it's risky. Damn, it's insane that this is where we live right now, and they cannot absolutely understand the corruption that's going on. This past week, so you had you like this video, Jeff. This is a good one.
We're at the top of the hour.
That's okay. Well, we got a little bit of time here. You had Mark Carney, who apparently won as the prime minister. Amazing that actually happened, but apparently he did win. And I'm trying to find the video here. Let me see here. Where is it?
Let's play that video, and then we gotta do our drawing.
Well, here it is.
Is it a good video? Is that the MP?
Yeah. No. This is Mark Carney talking to the president.
Conversation, but we want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada, and we put tariffs on cars from Canada. And at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And we, because of, past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us. And there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada's a place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you?
So interesting.
It would be
really is interesting. Canada. Yeah, man, Canada's definitely on that. They're on the wrong side of history. That's just how it is. We're looking at a big move. Canada will have to get on. So we'll see. We'll see who what it all comes down to. But man, Chip, we're at the top of the hour. I know people are fired up to do a drawing here for the Badass Yeti. So
I'll show one more thing here. In Canada, Prime Minister goes to Washington. Carney and Trump became best friends without benefits.
Without benefits. Look at that look. Look at the look.
Oh my gosh, he got lampooned, man. They're like, oh, he got just destroyed in Canada, man. They crushed him. Holy cow! I've never seen anything so crazy in the world. Okay, guys. Well, here we are in the back. 16. You guys have a great shot at this. Not too many people typed Yeti, so we are going to go.
Hang on. I got to roll the video.
Go.
We'll give people a chance. Hang on a second.
The video.
Winner Badass Yeti from the blue trap. Word of the day, you die. You got your Zaman wallet ready.
Why? Cause this is gonna be up X time to claim your legendary blue tribe Yeti
of the clan Templar. His name! Let's go! On the chain, Badass Yetis.
Born for battle, made for legend. Claim yours or be forgotten. Badass Yetis on the chain.
Ooh, another Badass Yeti song promo video. And we've got 18. So 2 more people jumped in, and I'm ready to go. We gave you guys plenty of time to type in Yeti. If you already typed it, you only have to type it once. It won't only register once. But let's draw. You got a 1 in 18 shot at winning an awesome Badass Yeti. Let's go. Boom, Davey X.
Davey X.
And Charles thought, oh, is it me? No, the rug pulls. Davey X, the big winner. Let's see. Davey X, are you here?
Davey X, are you here?
Look at the palm trees with the RP. XRP. There you go.
XRP. Davey XRP.
Let's go, Davey.
Davey X, big winner. Are you here?
Are you here, Davey X? We need to hear from you. You need to say, I'm here, Davey X. And then say, I'm getting my Zaman wallet.
Zaman wallet ready. Yes.
He's here. Okay, good. We'll go ahead and get that.
Oh,
get your wallet. Beautiful. He wins. Big winner. Congratulations, Davey X.
Fantastic. There it is. Boom. Wallet ready. Now that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Mark says he's here. Good. Thank you for that, Mark. For that. Says he's here, guys. All right. We'll get in the wallet. Go into your Zaman wallet and you hit that button. What is it?
I'm getting ready to move it. Here we go. Where's my phone? Oh,
that's rolling in for
getting ready to transfer this bad boy.
Hang on, dude. This beautiful Badass Yeti. So in the interim, this is an old one. This is an MP from Great Britain, and this is fantastic. This is when Trump was first elected, and of course This only Jeff, only somebody would, and British would put up this kind of grilling. Sits there calmly,
and
he's just grilled. Watch this. Here we go.
Minister, Donald Trump is president-elect once again. What are your thoughts on his emphatic win? Well, look, obviously, I congratulate Donald Trump on his victory, and I look forward to working with his administration over the next 4 years. You've got...
This is a typical politician, Jeff. No, he knows what's coming. Look at the eyes. He knows what's coming.
Some bridges to build with him, though, haven't you? Given that in January 2017, you said... Donald Trump is a neo-Nazi and a disgusting sexual predator. God help the United States. The Prime Minister and I have already had several meetings with President Trump in order to maintain a healthy relationship that benefits both countries, and I think that's what's important right now. When you met the President, did he mention this tweet you wrote back in March 2017 when you said, "How can anyone spend time with Donald Trump and not come to the conclusion that he's an unscrupulous, egotistical, misogynistic fascist? God, I hate him." What I'm focused on is making sure that our strong working relationship with the United States continues under President Trump and his team. Even though you said this in July 2017, Donald Trump is contemptible, vile and odious, a tornado of corruption and depravity in a flappy blue suit. He makes me sick. Donald Trump is a man who speaks as he finds, but I think that it's important that we find some common ground in the national interest, and that's what myself and the Prime Minister are focused on doing in the coming months. So presumably you no longer think what you tweeted in December 2017 when you said, "Anyone who tries to forge working relationships with Trump is an unprincipled, morally bankrupt charlatan who should be treated with contempt and total disdain. I don't care who you are, if you want to work with that fascist monster, you're a piece of shit." The transatlantic relationship is one of the most important relationships that the UK has, and I don't think that bringing up tweets that I posted several years
That's done. Why'd it freeze? Why'd everybody freeze? Is it just me? Chip, are you still there? Did I freeze? Am I frozen? Can't tell if it's me or if it's Chip or whomever froze. I still seem to be moving around, but I cannot tell. We need Davey X's Chip froze. All right. Oh, I'm not frozen. Wow, that's so weird that his he went offline. I'm not sure exactly what happened here. That's so crazy. So he'll show back up here in a minute. But man, this was real glad to have everybody here once again. I'm the one lot. You never know. You can't tell who gets frozen up when stuff goes down. But now I see we lost all of Chip completely. So his internet probably went out. Big congratulations to Davey X for winning the Badass Yeti on today's show. We will be back on again tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big game tomorrow also, Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Last night, the Panthers took the Toronto Maple Leafs in overtime, 5-4. That was such a contentious game. They went into the end of the third, 4-3 to the Panthers. The Maple Leafs tied it up, 4-4, going to OT. It was crazy. I think, what was it, like 6 minutes left, 7 minutes left. I forget exactly the time clock at the end, and it was super exciting, man. That was quite a game. But the thing is, tomorrow night, that's it. So Toronto Maple Leafs leading the series now 2-1. Go into that. If the Panthers tie it up, at least go back to Toronto with a 2-2, and give some opportunity there for the big win. But anyhow, with that, thank you guys for being here once again on the chain with Chip and I. So look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Chip and Jeff and Chip out. We are out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Let me make sure I play the right one here. And here we go. There it is. See you guys.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.